What's up, everybody? Thank you so much for listening to Your Ex-Drinking Buddy. My name is Brennan Tassif. I'll be your host. Subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcast. Check out the merch store at brennantcomedy.com/merch-store. And make sure you subscribe on YouTube as well. We'll put the shorts up there, the full video, the whole thing. Thank you so much for listening. I love it. I hope you love it. Subscribe on Patreon, too. We do bonus episodes. I do Tales from the Restaurant, where I talk about celebrities I've waited on and whether they're assholes or not, which is super fun. Also, we do a pre-show banter for my other show, Cheers from the Press Box with Joe Dorville. A lot of behind-the-scenes stuff going on over there, too. Make sure you just subscribe everywhere, just all over the place. I greatly appreciate it. And if you're not leaving the mean comments, thank you for that. Maybe leave a couple nice ones.
Grab me a beer and grab him a coke. We bout to sit for an hour, bullshit and tell jokes. And please don't mix it up, cause he done sobered up. Brennan T Comedy on your social media feeds. And Brennan Tassif is your ex-drinking buddy. Brennan Tassif is your ex-drinking buddy. Brennan Tassif is your ex-drinking buddy. Brennan Tassif is your ex-drinking buddy.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into another edition of Brennan Tassif is your ex-drinking buddy. I'm your host, Brennan Tassif. If you're new to the program, quick rundown of the show. I used to be everyone's favorite drinking buddy. It was my favorite thing to do. Hang out with friends, get drunk, do drugs, get in all sorts of trouble, and then reminisce about those crazy stories. I am sober now, but it's still one of my favorite things to do. Hang out with somebody and reminisce about the crazy old days. Most weeks I will be joined by guests. This week is no exception. The Sack King himself from Columbus, Ohio, now in New York, Matt Bowman.
Hey.
What's up, dude?
Dude, I'm feeling good.
I was just re-listening to your last episode, and I kept mentioning it when you first came in, but you brushed over the fucking sack.
Well, when you said the Sack King, I was like, and you were saying you listened to the last time I was on the Sack King, I immediately was like, was I just talking about my scrotum a lot? Like, I don't remember that. Like, and I wasn't fucked up when I did the show the last time. So I'm like, wait, what did I say?
Yeah, we were talking about how you played football through middle school and then into high school.
Yeah.
And you accidentally got a sack.
Yeah, well, and if you're just listening to this, the idea...
Episode 107, go back and check it out. But...
Well, it makes sense. You're like, oh, yeah, men play football or whatever. But if you're viewing, you're like, that fucking guy played football?
And got a sack?
Like, yeah.
Little change of pace.
It was pretty
rusher.
sick. I was in the wrong position. I went...
Way out of position.
Oh, so bad. Like, I was supposed to go inside. I was supposed to take the A gap, and then I didn't even go B. I went, like, on the outside.
Just fucking C gap. Outside rush,
and I
baby.
then literally the quarterback just like he was rolling out of the pocket and he fell right into my arms. So I did the wrong thing. I was in the wrong place, but made the play.
You're the Sack King.
It was awesome, dude.
So much to talk about. Plug everything up front. Let everybody know where they can find you before we get too far in anything.
Matt Bowman Comedy on everywhere but Twitter because it's too long. So on Twitter it's Batmoman. Yeah. And then I've got a podcast called Matt Bowman is Bothered. I've been slacking a little bit with that, but we're going to get that kickstarted here again. And then clubs all around the city, and I'm trying to do some more road stuff.
You're a big Grizzly Pear guy.
Big time. Yeah, that, the Comedy Shop, Williamsburg Comedy Club, sometimes at Greenwich Village Comedy Club, and then bar shows and everything.
We fucking are doing it.
Yeah, dude.
So much to talk about. So the last time you came on, we talked about you're from Ohio. You grew up in a fairly religious household, not overly so.
Right.
And to quote you, you said it's not the fucking Westboro Baptist.
Right.
But
It's not oppressive, but Christ was a central figure.
Hey.
Yeah.
As he is.
Absolutely.
As he is.
Truly.
And then we talked about some of your experiences. You didn't drink until you were 21. You had your first beer at 20 at that concert.
Correct.
You didn't actually drink until you were 21.
Correct.
But you had never gone like crazy with it. You never really had an issue with it. And then we talked about fight nights.
Oh, dude.
Talked about the fight nights.
This is great.
Yeah, we're just bringing back old memories.
Hell yeah, dude.
Talked about the fight nights. We talked about the mushroom trip.
Okay.
And you riding the city bike back, which happened in New York.
Oh, God, yeah, that was...
And then you stealing the iPod Nano. Those were the big stories we touched on.
Damn, those are pretty big career highlights of mine.
Speaking of career highlights, though, there's been massive Matt Bowman movement.
Yeah, I know.
On the career meter.
Yeah.
Tell everybody what's going on. You have gotten married. You have a son on the way.
True.
God, like, what's happening?
All true.
Let's catch everybody up. So the last time you were on, you were talking about your girlfriend,
Yes.
who is now
my wife
and mother of your unborn son.
Correct. Unborn until literally
This is nuts, folks.
24 hours from now. We are going into the hospital. She's getting induced starting at 11 a.m. tomorrow.
See?
So this is the last thing that I'm doing that's comedy related for like the next month.
Yeah.
So you're welcome.
I'm so happy.
This is a big moment.
I knew she was due soon, but
Yeah.
like we planned on last week, and then some things happened, and then I'm
Right.
gonna turn the AC on. I apologize to the listeners if this comes through, but we'll fix it.
I think
in
it'll be all
post.
right.
But yeah, we were texting,
Uh-huh.
and then we had that fun back and forth where I was like, "Hey man, we pushed it Saturday,"
Right.
And I was like, "Yeah, of course, no problem."
Uh-huh.
And then, as is wont to happen as comedians, our significant other is like, "Hey, what time are we going to the thing on Saturday?"
Oh yeah.
And you're like,
the thing.
Yeah,
It's my favorite thing.
the birthday party.
Oh, it's the best.
Yeah, for the 1-year-old.
I could never forget.
For your friends that I've never
Right.
met before. Yeah,
It's the best.
of course. Who forgot?
No.
I didn't forget.
No.
When I texted you and said I rescheduled the podcast for Saturday, I meant Sunday.
Of
and on the
course.
side, I'm texting you like, "Hey, dude, does Sunday work?"
Yeah, that's kind of like a thing that we do is you'll say Saturday, but we both know you mean Sunday.
Yeah.
Like that's just kind of the relationship that we have.
Obviously.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, so you were gracious enough to be like, yeah, and you didn't mention it, or there was no, which this is one of the things I love about you. There was no like, well, my wife is due. Like, I guess I could.
Yeah.
You were just like, yeah, sure.
Well, it kind of got me in a little bit of trouble. I did not this, but the other. I did a road show with a couple comics. We did like upstate New York, like 5 hours away, and that was like 2 weeks ago. And I told my wife about it a month and a half, 2 months ago. I was like, hey, I got this show. It's like June 6th or whatever. And then it was fine. And then I leave.
That's the future Bowman's problem.
I know. I leave and it's fine. And then when I'm at the venue that night,
5 hours away.
she was texting me. She was just like, now that I think about it, I'm not super stoked that you're 5 hours away and I could be giving birth at any moment. And I'm like, yeah, upon further reflection, that's accurate. That's right.
For the review.
I should have known without review. But
God.
so yeah, that was fun. So as long as I'm only a half hour away from
Yeah.
home. So if
And
anything
right now,
bad happened,
we're doing it. We're bouncing around to different parts of the apartment. I'm doing the home studio.
right?
We were doing it out in the living room, but it was just so plain. And I was like, wait a second. I've got New York in my background.
That's where we live.
Let's just do New York.
It's pretty sick.
Yeah.
And we got a view too. We're up here,
dude, we're
I
out
like
here.
it.
We're out here.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it. So, like we said, the last time you were on, it was just you and a girl.
Yep.
You and a girlfriend, just
Yep.
living life, doing comedy. What has happened? What's going on? Because you do have a religious background, so the marriage thing and the child thing, that's all.
Right.
That's all par for the course.
Right.
But let's take it, because we were talking about this last time. We were both very pretentious when it comes to comedy. We
course.
both softened a little on our pretentiousness since moving to New York.
Mm-hmm.
But what was kind of the thing that like sparked all of this? Were you just like, I'm in love and this is what we're doing?
Well,
I'm gonna have you fully admit why you got married. Right
none
here
of
on the
this was
podcast.
really planned.
Okay.
It was planned in like the conceptual sense.
Yeah.
Of like we want to get married.
Yeah.
And we want to have a
I'm
kid.
going through that right now. Yeah.
And so it wasn't just like right fucking now.
Yeah.
That was not the plan. And so this would have been back in October, November. Sam, my now wife at the time, girlfriend, she was late on her period. And so she was like, hey babe, can you run to the pharmacy, get some like pregnancy tests just to confirm
Yeah.
that we're not pregnant.
Yeah.
Because she had started like a medication at the time, and like one of the side effects was like you could miss or be
Yeah.
late or whatever. And so I go and I
Trust but verify.
exactly. Like neither of us were like we're pregnant. And so she takes a pregnancy test, and according to her, it lit up pregnant so fast that she was like, I must have made a mistake.
Yeah.
I didn't do this correctly. That's why they put 2 in there, is to make sure, you know. And so
The fact that she's like, I screwed this.
I
up.
messed up.
Babe,
No.
We're gonna do it again.
Come on. I don't want to believe this. And then she did it again, and boop,
Right
and-
away.
Yeah. And I remember she was just like, hey babe, and I was like, oh, that's not good. That's not. You're not hey babing if we're not there's no pregnant.
Yeah, you're like,
Hey,
Great news.
No pregnancy.
But I mean, this is great news.
Yeah, it was. And so we did talk about it. I'm not going to lie. We did discuss whether or not that's
The
something
other
that we
things,
wanted to do at this juncture. And we ultimately decided that we wanted to.
Yeah, that's I love that because the listeners know this, but I've wanted kids since I was like 12.
Sure.
Just as a child of divorce and stuff, I'm always, and this is kind of a fucked up way to think about it, but I was always just like, oh, when I have kids, it's going to be different.
Of course.
Because that's how we think.
Right. I'm going to nail it.
Yeah. And I mean, that's why we do comedy. It's
Right.
like, we're like, I know a lot of you are funny.
Sure.
But I'm going to crush this life.
Right. That's
Smash cut to, I'm talking to Ryan O'Toole outside the Pair last night, like, I think I should start submitting to clubs. Like, I'm not getting stage time anywhere.
Or I think we've all been in like a show where, for whatever reason, either the crowd's not great, whatever, and you're standing in the back and you're like up in like 2 or 3 comics, and you're like, when I get up there, I'm gonna turn this shit around.
Oh my god, I was just talking about this with Greg Melly.
Yeah.
I did a show a couple weeks ago, and the host is like someone who's around comedy in New York. But I don't know if it was I don't know what the situation was. I had just gotten a text like, hey, do you want to come on to this show? Be there at 7. And so I was there.
Sure.
And some of the comics going up, I was like, and there's only like 8 people in the audience, but the comics that were going, I was like, oh, I'm going to destroy.
Right.
Like, this is going to be so easy. And then I got up and I was like, not destroying.
No,
not
it's really bad. Oh, this is
a lot of
tough.
work. A lot of work.
Oh, shit.
A lot of work.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this is something that I've had to deal with, which is like the conceptual aspect of like kids. Like with Tracy and I now, we're moving in together. We're in our 30s, so we're openly
right.
We're not playing games anymore.
Right.
This isn't in your 20s where you're like, oh, one day we'll get married and it'll be great.
Right.
Like, we're in our 30s. We both want kids. We
right.
both want to take the next step in our lives. We both love each other very much. So the idea is very conceptual. So I understand what you're saying when you're like, yeah, like it was on paper. We kind of had it sorted.
Right.
But then when it happens, what was going through your head? Like the moment she walks out of the bathroom and she's like, hey, babe, and I mean, if you don't want to get too personal, you don't have to because this lives forever. But
no,
does your stomach sink? Do you get excited? Are you kind of like, is it like when you made that sack and you're just kind of like, I don't know what to do with my hands?
Yeah, everything in my life comes back to the sack that I made in ninth grade.
I'm going to make it come back
when
to
I
that.
When I get a special on whatever network, like the first thing, it's not even going to say dedicated to my wife and child. It's going to say dedicated to ninth grade,
the Sack King.
Lakota East Thunderhawks freshman football team.
Matt Bowman is the Sack King.
Exactly, dude.
Brought to you on Netflix.
Right. But no, she came. It was surprise, first of all, because I wasn't thinking that. And then to be like, I was probably, when it first happened, I was leaning like, I don't know if we want to do this right now.
Yeah.
Almost strictly from just a financial standpoint, where it's just like, we don't have, like, Sam's got a great job. She's a tattoo artist. She's very talented. I have a couple part-time jobs, and we're not doing terribly by any stretch of the imagination.
My man's got a master's over
I
here.
do, and I don't use it. It was a lot of money. But it was one of those things where you're like, all right, is this really what we want to do? And then we thought about it for about a week, and like talked to some friends. And honestly, some of the best advice that I got from a buddy, and I'm not trying to be too serious, but
no, let's
he
do
was
it.
like, he said, because I was like, I could easily see a scenario where like I have this kid, and it really takes away from like what my ultimate goal of this moving here is to be a professional stand-up comedian. And he was like, yeah, that is true, but like, just think about like zoom out and go like 5 years into the future, and say even then, like, you might be further along, but even then you might have not attained everything that you wanted to. And then he was like, I think you might look back on like the family you could have had and been like regretful of
dude,
that.
That's deep.
And I'm like, yeah, dude, that's actually pretty fucking true.
And it's also, because I joke with Tracy about this. Obviously, I'm in the same boat you are where I work. I've got the restaurant job, but I'm also pursuing stand-up. Mm-hmm. And it's really interesting because the financial thing is always set for the ladies.
Of course.
We're just like, let it rip.
Yeah.
But I joke with her all the time. It's not even a joke. It's the truth. Like, in recovery. I've been sober for 6 years. Like, I know recovering heroin addicts who have 4 kids. I know, people who I grew up around people who parents were alcoholic, like, and
Right.
they have a lot of kids. But you know what I mean? It's like
Right.
one of those things where it's like, I'm not negging on being a parent. I'm sure it's incredibly hard.
Sure.
But like, you can figure it out.
It's the sometimes at times the arrogance of stand-up comedians or like performers in general, where it's just like, oh, you don't know how hard it is to do. And I'm just like, shut up, dude. Shut up. We get like, yeah, it can be difficult and there's a lot of bureaucracy, but like, you're fucking around. Like,
Yeah.
you're trying to make your job fucking around. You can figure out how to work and maneuver
exactly.
that into
well,
that
and
thing.
This is something that obviously is a big sports guy, but this is something that is so true. And you see it all the time in different series when it comes to like the NHL playoffs. We're seeing it right now where, you know, Florida goes up 3-0 and then everyone's like, oh, it's over. You cannot fake desperation.
No.
And this is something that I bring up to talking about having a kid and your career. It's like, you're going to do things now moving forward that you would have never thought to do
Sure.
to further your career. Because you can't fake that kind of like, I got to get this fucking going now.
Right.
And no matter how much drive people have, no matter how motivated they are, you cannot fake that like, no, this has to happen and this has to happen now.
Right. I mean, that's kind of like
I think it's going to be great for your career.
the idea of like the only way out is through type of a thing of like this is it not. And again, I'm not saying that like having a kid is a problem, but it's just like, okay, this is a new set of parameters.
gonna be
Let's
so
figure out how to
perfect.
get through here. And honestly,
Uncle B's going to come over. I'm going to teach him how to fucking throw a football.
hell, easy. That's my that's my thing. No, but I also think it's so funny. Like,
I'm sorry,
No, go ahead.
but when your son is like 2 or 3 years old,
Yeah.
and he's gonna be at a show in the back or something, I'm gonna come up to him and be like, "Do you know the story of the Sack King, your father?
my father.
Your father, the greatest pass rusher in Ohio history."
Absolutely, dude. I had almost nobody looking at me. It was great. And I didn't want it. I was I'm not a spotlight kind of guy.
You were destined
Right.
for other things.
Exactly.
But yeah, I think this is gonna be awesome.
Yeah, it should be really fun. And I also think that it's funny when like because I mean, granted, we hang out with almost
Degenerates?
exclusively stand-up comedians who, again, almost exclusively, they're not normal people.
Yeah.
And so that I do understand. And there are a lot of times, I mean, most people are starting stand-up in their late teens, early 20s, sometimes mid-20s, whatever. And it seems like people that are like, oh, I would never want to have kids. And it's just like, well, first off, you're like 22.
Yeah.
So of course,
Pump the brakes.
that makes
Yeah.
sense. I think you're going to feel very differently about life and a lot of different aspects of things in even like 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
But also, once people get to be like 28, 29, 30, when those people are like, dude, now that you're gonna have a kid, you're not be able to go out and get fucked up with the boys anymore. I'm like, dude, we are 30. Like, what are you talking about, dude? Go grow up. Talk to your dad. Text your sister. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? It's so dumb. Like,
So asinine,
it's
man.
it's like, okay, hey, once every now and again you want to go out, like tie one off, sure, that's fun. But like to be like, dude, it's gonna be your social life's
What's
shot,
going
dude.
to
I'm
happen,
like,
bro?
all right, man. Like, fucking, you need to come on Brendan's podcast and talk
Let's
about
talk
this
about
shit,
it.
dude.
Come out here. You know who we're talking about.
It's so
Ryan
annoying.
O'Toole. No, I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
right. But yeah, so I think a lot of times people just don't want to grow up.
Yeah.
And I think
It's the Peter Pan syndrome, which is interesting because there's so many different facets to that. Because, like, obviously, look behind it. Like, I got a Star Wars calendar. Like, I have my Xbox right there. Like,
Right.
I am a giant child.
Well, the
But-
idea of stand-up is I want
Exactly.
to not have
That's where
a job.
I was going to go. That's where I was
I
going to
don't
go.
want to
yeah.
do. I don't want to be.
I want to be silly all
this,
the time.
Yeah, exactly. And so trying to fit a child into that, which is the ultimate responsibility, could be a challenge.
But it's also weird, though, because I do suffer from Peter Pan. Like, I still think farts are the funniest thing when I'm with Tracy.
Sure.
And she gets so worked up about it. I'm just like,
Pretty funny. I mean, come on. Now.
but at the same time, I have 6 years sober. Like,
Right.
I moved to New York, and then when me and my ex broke up, like, found my own place. Like, I made things. I went to college pretty much without a ton of help. Like, my uncle ended up helping me, like, when I wanted to go play college football. But when I graduated high school, I remember I looked at my dad and I was like, yeah, I guess I'm going to move out. Like, I was the only one who had his own apartment in our hometown, like,
Damn.
the summer after high school. Because I was just like, yeah, I guess we're just going to keep going. And that's through nobody's, and again, this isn't like anybody's fault, but it's just how I was raised. Was like, no, you keep moving forward. You keep pushing. So even though I'm the biggest fucking kid I know, I'm still like, no, this has to get taken care of.
Sure.
Which is, I think that is a lot of comics.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I mean, you ended up getting married. So take us through the wedding. What was going on there?
So we don't have any money at all.
Because you guys have been married for a little while now.
We got married in March.
Okay.
So March 29th.
Yeah.
I remember, babe. It's fucking, she got me AirPods for my birthday, and they are with our anniversary on it. So I can never forget. But yeah, so we just decided we're just going to have it at the courthouse. It's going to be super cheap and quick. And so we had...
Because those pictures, I don't know who did your photography, but those pictures were awesome.
That was so the guy who did the tattoos on my arm here, his wife, they actually just moved like a couple months ago from Columbus.
Oh, shit. To New York?
Yeah, to New York. We met them in Ohio.
I got to get some new ink. You got to hook me up.
Yeah. So, yeah, my friend Ian, the guy who did this, he works at a shop. I think it's called Memorial Brooklyn.
Shout out Memorial.
That's beside the point. But, yeah, so she's a photographer.
Call him and be like, hey, I did this podcast that has maybe a couple thousand listeners.
So,
can I get some
So get
ink?
ready. The doors are coming down, baby. And so, yeah, his wife took our pictures.
It looked, I mean...
They were great.
I understand what you're saying about, like, the courthouse and stuff. And, again, I don't know if I'm supposed to be putting this business out there. Sorry, Tracy. But we've talked about that.
Yeah.
Like, we've also talked about, like, you know, having a bigger wedding and all of our families coming and stuff. But then we've also talked about, like, I don't have health insurance and we want to have kids sooner than later because we're both in our 30s.
Sure.
And it's kind of like, why don't we just take care of this now and then we'll do like the celebration thing later. So like we've gone through all avenues of discussion on this.
And that's kind of the idea of what we're thinking of. Like, so we got married in March. Just at the court, my family came in, her family came in, a couple of our like really close friends from back home came in.
I was there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Tracy was there. I've never met her, but she was a wonderful person. And
that is the weird, just sidebar. That is the weird thing about doing a podcast is sometimes I'll have people on and they'll be talking about like these awesome experiences or these crazy experiences, and I was like, we've been friends for a while. That just happened 2 months ago. Like, I didn't get a
sick invite, bro.
Yeah,
like,
thanks, dude.
Yeah, dude, like, it was crazy. Like, everybody was there. I mean, like, everybody I could possibly think of.
There's a bunch of comics, like, younger than us, but, like, in that, you know, in kind of our class, as it were, that all have birthdays in the early May. And they had, like, a party. And I remember I was at the stand hanging out, and someone I knew walked by. And I was like, oh, my God, what's up? Comedian that I know.
Right.
And they're like, oh, we're going to this bar for such and such, such and such and such and such's birthday party. And I was like... All three have been on the podcast. Consider myself a friend of all three.
Right.
Consider myself a close friend with one of them.
Yeah.
And I was like, cool.
You're really living out the idea that, like, the saddest sentence is, what party?
Yeah.
Like, that's so true, dude. And, man.
That's the clip.
Dude, you know what?
Party?
What party? But I gotta be honest, like,
Did you invite any comics to the wedding?
Yeah, the couple came.
Okay.
And then we had like a dinner that night.
Yeah.
And so it was always going to be like very small.
Yeah,
because
of course.
we could I think we had like 16 at like the dinner.
That is the other thing too is comics. It's like the fucking arrogance that we have, the fucking narcissism to be like, yeah, but I thought we were pretty good friends.
Yeah.
It's like you're not even on the list to make the list, dude.
And you know
what are you talking about?
You know what? You know how fucked up I am? I'm so, like, I need the approval. So I'm like, you better fucking invite me, and then I'm not coming. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I know
please
exactly.
invite me. But then you're like, oh, I want them to invite me. And then they invite you. And then you, like, look at the invitation, and you're like, Upper West Side. Get the fuck out of here,
10 o'clock
dude.
at night. Go
no,
fuck
dude.
yourself.
On a Thursday? You're out of your
Fuck
mind,
off.
dude. I am not doing that. And so, like, I want to be invited, but then I'm not
coming. It's like
coming.
the show thing. Like, we want to get booked on all the shows, and then when we show up, we're like, garbage host, 12 people? I'm going home.
Or you're on the train, and you're like, what am I doing? I was at home.
I was cutting clips. I was relaxing.
I had no pants on 15 minutes ago. What am I doing?
No, I'm chugging a Red Bull with a Zin in.
This is stupid. What a stupid dream I have.
So let's get back on track. So
Yes.
the wedding, courthouse, smaller kind of a thing. And then are you planning, because you had kind of touched on this, are you planning on maybe doing something like a bigger celebration later?
So the idea, in theory, it's not been confirmed, but we had kind of talked about it like next year at this time. So like
Yeah.
when our son is 1, kind of having like a first birthday party / everybody
that's
who
awesome.
didn't get invited to the wedding party type
Bring
thing.
presents for my son.
Yes,
type
give me
thing.
money that I will use for my son. And so we don't know if that'll be like here in New York or if we got a bunch of friends and family that are back in
Columbus,
Ohio,
yeah.
so we might do that. Who knows? But yeah, that's kind of that's the tentative plan.
Can I make a suggestion?
Sure.
Tour.
Tour
A tour.
of
So do it here in New York. Do it. Where is Sam from?
Findlay, Ohio, so
So-
northwest.
Do it in New York. Have
Yeah.
like the whole thing. Bring all the comics. We're giving you like buttons out of our pocket. and,
Sure.
Like, lint, and we're like, hey, this is for the sun.
Right.
Oh no, it's funny. There's a bit about it. It's funny.
Yeah.
No, it's
I
worthless.
hope does your son drink IPAs? Because that's all I could find at the bodega. Like that's all they had.
But then go to Ohio.
Yeah.
And do a Matt Bowman is back. The Sack King is back.
Dude.
Just do tours.
Okay.
So like, play a venue. Also, this is my son's birthday and our marriage celebration, but also come watch me do stand up.
We will make so much money.
Dude.
Like from friends and family that
Yeah.
give. Yeah, it's great.
I'm
That's
just-
the one downside of having a small wedding.
As a comic, I'm like, make it all about you,
Please,
Matt.
yeah.
Please.
There's not 2 other people in your family now. It is
No.
still just you.
They're just for material.
Right. But the drawback of having a small wedding is like it's cheaper, but you also have less people that will give you money for free,
Yeah.
and that stinks.
Yeah.
So if I could set up a operation where those people do give me money, that would be awesome.
I used to joke with my older sister. She's now like married and has her baby, but years ago when she had dated this guy for a long time. So they were basically, what is it called, like legal union or whatever. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah.
Domestic partnership
Yeah,
or something
like that. But I used to joke with her all the time, and not like half joking. I was like, "You guys have been together for like 10 years. You own a house together. Like, I don't think you guys are going to break up anytime soon. You should just have a fake wedding. Like, just don't sign the paperwork. Just have one of your friends come over and not initiate, but do the thing, and then everyone will give you so much stuff.
Yeah.
And they would like be like, "Oh, that's stupid." And I'm like, this is probably the greatest idea I've ever come up with in my life.
Dude, you should be like a fake wedding planner.
Oh my god!
Like that, you could corner that industry.
Like the Kevin Hart Ringer, the Ringer movie,
Right.
but just for fake weddings.
It's fantastic. What a great idea.
How long have you guys been dating? 6 months. You need rent?
Dude.
Let's do a fake wedding.
Come on now. There's no paperwork involved. Trust me, this is barely legal,
And
what we're doing. Believe me. Don't tell everybody
There
because we
are
could get in trouble.
No repercussions.
Right.
Legally.
I actually don't know.
I don't know how that would work.
Because you could just, if anybody showed up, you'd be like, no, this is just a party
Yeah.
where 2 people give a speech. You know, like
Well, and that's
that's
also
it.
the thing
Yeah,
too
like-
is like if someone gives you money, it's considered a gift, which is why, fun fact, an engagement ring is considered a gift. It's considered like a gift upon like purpose or something like that. I don't know.
Uh-huh.
It's like a gift that has something at the end of it. Getting married. So unless you can always get your engagement ring back because there's a word for it, and I'm just not thinking of it right now. But it's considered a gift based on something else happening.
Oh, cool.
So, like, if I give you an engagement ring and then
Uh-huh.
6 months later you're like, you know what, I want to break up. I'm like, well, give me that back because... And then in court, they'd be like, yeah, you never got married. That's technically his.
Oh, cool.
Unless you get engaged on Christmas, your birthday, or like a gift-giving holiday.
Whoa.
If you, like, happen to be like, oh, let's get engaged on Christmas because it's beautiful in the snow and the blah, 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 you're not getting that engagement
That
ring
is
back.
gay.
Because
That
then
is
they could
so
be
dumb.
like,
Yeah.
they can be like, no, that was a Christmas gift.
Right. What, dude? That's so dumb. I would never.
The law is bananas.
That's crazy.
So let's talk about it. You're married now.
We
Kid
are.
on the way as of tomorrow. What's
Literally.
the name?
Elliot.
Elliot.
Elliot Ray. So it's pretty
I'm
nice.
gonna fucking cry, man.
Elliot is my mom's maiden name.
Okay.
We also like it, just in general. We like the name. And
FYI, Elliot, when you're listening to this in 13 years.
then, right. My middle name is Raymond, and so we didn't want to do Raymond.
Got it. That's what I was
Ray
gonna ask.
sounds cooler,
Yeah.
shorter, and so I think it's.
ER, baby.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. Oh, dude. Yeah, if he's like a basketball player, like, he sends him to the dude, that's
If
pretty
he,
sick.
If he takes after his father
That's
and
pretty
goes
sick.
to play football,
That's pretty sick.
Somebody
down.
take him, because here comes the ER.
Either
Call
that,
the
yeah, or
ambulance.
he's got to go into the WWE.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, it's and everyone.
Yeah. Right.
It's like the Stone Cold Breaking Glass.
Exactly.
Everyone knows what it is.
Oh, dude. I don't. Quick aside. I think wrestling. I'm so sorry. I think wrestling is very stupid.
Yeah.
I don't like it. I think it's so silly and it's insane. But I would be lying if I didn't say that Stone Cold Steve Austin was one of the coolest men that's ever lived. He is like I don't know why, but like every time I see like, oh, there's a Stone Cold documentary, let's watch it. I've watched every it's so cool.
I grew up as a fan of wrestling, and I just talked about this on Troublemakers with Ray Zawadney and Dylan Krasinski. But to this day, at 36 years old, and I'm not really into wrestling as much as I used to be. I grew up in Florida, and there was a lot of indie circuits, so we kind of watched a lot of it. And then I was a WCW kid when there was the whole Attitude Era.
Sure.
So I'm like obviously in it a lot more than you. But to this day, at the restaurant, if there's a broken glass and I throw it in the glass bin and it shatters, I go da 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 da. To this day, I'm almost 40, and
Yeah,
I'm like,
come on.
just doing this Stone Cold, man.
I'm also pretty sure my parents would have thought, like my dad specifically, would just be like, these people need Christ. Like just watching wrestling, like Stone, like his whole, like after he
Hell yeah.
yeah, well, and then he just takes beer,
beer
and then
and
like
chugs it?
that, like that's my dad's the antithesis of everything he believes
Do
in.
you know why? You've seen some of the documentaries. So it's Stone Cold 316. Do you know why that's a thing? Because there was a wrestler, for those listening, back in the day who was like really religious, and he fucks this dude up, and then he goes, how about Stone Cold 316?
Yeah, you got you say you got your Bible verses, you got your
Yeah.
John 3:16.
That's what it was, yeah.
Austin 3:16 said, "I just kicked your ass."
Yeah,
Dude,
you
the-
know it better than I do.
The fact that he had Austin 3:16 and then like 10 seconds later was like, and that's the bottom line because Stone Cold said so. He's talking in an interview and he was just like, I hit 2 grand slams at it. I'm
Just
like,
bang, bang.
The fact that he just like that wasn't written. He just
Yeah.
like came up with that. I'm like, dude, that's awesome.
The bottom line thing, that was forever.
Yeah.
And then, God, all the merch sales. As comics, we know merch. As
Yeah.
all the merch
I also
sales
didn't
from
know
Austin 316.
because I'm not a fan of wrestling and I
Yeah.
don't know the whole thing. Like I would watch clips where he was just like on the mic or whatever, and then I was like, why are all these people? Why is the crowd interrupting him? Because I didn't know that.
What?
Yeah, so he would be like, I see you got on nice shorts there. What? I'm like, what is happening? I'm like, oh, this is a thing.
It's a
okay,
thing. It's
this
a bit.
is this
It's
is
a bit.
Yeah, that's very fun.
It's like the sacking thing I'm doing.
Yeah,
where
it's
you're
great.
like, all right, dude, relax. And I'm like,
Yeah.
no, it's a bit. We're doing a bit.
yeah, that's great.
So now that you're a family man,
Yes.
I wanted to ask you. So the last time you were on, like we were talking about, we talked about the mushrooms, we talked about all that kind of stuff, and you had made a good point about this, where you were like, you know, once we're in our 30s now, it's like grow up. Have you, since the last time you were on, which was about 1.5 years ago, have you since tied one on? Have you since gotten crazy here and there?
I did. Probably the worst one. I have a buddy who is Scottish, like legit, like lives in
Comic
Scotland.
or-
Comic,
okay.
yeah. His name's Michael Cassidy. He's great.
Shout out Michael Cassidy.
They got speaking of, real quick, they've got a huge, Scotland's in the Euros.
Yeah.
And they have never gotten out of the group stage, and they have to win their game today at 3:00. So Michael is already fucked up. Like, he is so drunk. In preparation. But so I met him just randomly. I was at the Pear downtown, and there was like a soccer game on, and he was sitting there watching
Pear
it.
is big with soccer.
Yeah, well, it's because they're Scotch. They're Scotch Irish.
Oh, are they?
The owners are. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
I didn't know that. Grizzly Pear, that makes sense.
Yeah, and so
The Grizzly Pear.
exactly, and so he was just sitting there watching the game, and I was just sitting there watching with another comic, and then like we started like talking, and then we became like legitimately good friends, and then he came.
And he was visiting from Scotland?
Yeah, he was
Okay.
just like in for like a week or something.
Yeah.
And he came back last how long ago? Like 3 or 4 months, maybe 5. Like still like probably January, like
Okay.
winter still. And he came over and we just went to just like a bar just to like watch whatever was sporting event was on and
Yeah.
just like hang out. This is on like a Tuesday night. And dude,
Take us through it. You get
These-
there and you're like, oh, we're just going to
this
chill.
is fine. These guys are on another level.
Yeah.
Like now, I'm not like a huge boozer, but I
can
cannot
go, yeah.
I cannot get like so fucked up that I can't control. Like I
Yeah.
know how to do it
It's not like you're at
appropriately.
a party and you have one shot and everyone's like, watch out. Matt's
Exactly.
drinking.
He's
Like, you're
fucked
not-
up.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
And so we're there, and like it truly was one of those where like you don't know like how fucked up you are until you like stand up.
I've been there.
And we were just like, we were having it was fun. And then he was like, you want another one? And I was like, it was one of those where it was every time I would look at the clock and be like, all right, I need to get going. He would be like, oh, come on. Like, one more. And I'm like, all right. And I got up to go to the bathroom.
How long ago was this?
It was like 6 months, 5
Okay.
months ago. And
Sam must have been elated.
I've also started vaping since then. I'm a real cool guy.
Your pregnant wife.
Yeah, I'm a real cool guy. I've been vaping. And
Dude, I'm sorry. That also just me thinking about Sam being pregnant at home. You're vaping, drinking.
with a Scottish guy who you can't, dude, you think you can't understand them right now.
Oh.
Wait till they've got like 15 Heinekens in them.
Dude, Segura talks about it with Christina on their podcast, Your Mom's House, The Master of Accents, where they'll be like, no, this is English.
Yeah.
And they'll play like some drunk Irish or Scottish guy. And you're like,
What? Yeah, no. And so I went to the bathroom.
so what happened? You stand up and you're like, oh, fuck.
This was the first time I stood
Okay.
up. And so I stood up and I went to the bathroom and like I knew that I was kind of fucked up, but then like my hip hit like the corner of the bar and I'm like, oh shit, all right, this is bad. And then I ignored the sign in the bathroom. It's just like no smoking, no vaping, and I'm just like, I'm a cool guy. And so I was ripping my strawberry banana vape in the bathroom. And dude, like, because I was drunk and I hadn't hit it in like an hour or two, I mean, that sent me to the fucking moon. Like, if
Damn.
you've ever been like drunk or high and then mix nicotine in with it, it
It's
rips.
probably the best feeling in
It
the world.
rips.
I used to burn through an entire pack of cigarettes, hammered, just on my patio.
I
watching
almost
YouTube.
fell like into the toilet
Yeah,
because I was
watching
just
YouTube
like,
clips,
because
yeah.
like you just get just such a head rush.
That first cigarette. When you're, I mean, for you it's the strawberry
Oh,
banana vape.
my
but
God,
that
dude.
first hit of nicotine. I talk about this in the one man show, but like when I relapsed 2 weeks before my 1 year chip, doing a couple of shots and then going out on the patio, hitting that first cigarette. Oh my God, it was.
It's fantastic.
The best.
Oh, it's so good.
And then my entire life fell apart and I ended up in the hospital and almost died. So
Right.
I don't condone it, but
But it's not all bad, I
Yeah.
think is what you're trying to
Yeah,
say.
exactly.
Yeah, that's the moral of the story. But yeah, so I
you
get
can always find light in the
right,
darkness.
of course, yeah. And I come back.
So
to
you
the,
almost fell.
I almost fell
Were
like
you,
into
like-
the toilet.
Like chill. Like was your brain like chill?
That and just like, okay, we are way more fucked up than, and I the
We're a little further than we anticipated
oh my
on this
god
journey.
Well, and yeah, because like we're like in the East Village, which is such a pain in the fucking ass to get away from because there's a train doesn't go directly through there, and
And
so
you live in Brooklyn.
yeah, and so it's probably like midnight at this point. And I'm like, okay, I probably should get going. I come back to the table, we have the beer, and then I'm like, okay, I need to go piss one more time. And I thought I had said, hey, I'm going to leave. And then I come back to the table again, and he had put down, like, in that time that I was gone, he had bought 2 more beers and, like, set it down. I'm like, okay, well, I can't be rude.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to make this guy waste his fucking money. And so then again, it's probably...
He probably would have drank.
Oh, it would have been fine. Like, and at this point, it was a small bar. Again, it's Tuesday night. It is not like everybody go out and get fucked up
Yeah.
night. We are the only people in this bar at this point. It's us, the 2 bartenders, and then as we were leaving, some crazy Indian guys came in, and they were super fucked
Like
up.
party guys?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they were partying it up. But I don't know. It's one of those where I don't know how I got home. Like,
Yeah.
I can remember I remember the whole process. I didn't, like, black out or anything, but I had no idea how I had the mental
Just
capacity.
muscle memory.
Because, like, I was, like, looking at my phone. I was like, okay, I need to go to this station. And then I go to that station, and I realized that, like, somehow I realized that the train I needed was not going to service this station.
Wow, you figured it out.
And I was like, I have to literally run to another station in 5 minutes because the train is coming to that station,
Yeah.
and if I miss that, the next one's in like 30 minutes.
Yeah, for those of you listening who don't live in New York, the subway system during the day,
Fantastic.
on a weekday, fucking the tits. You can get anywhere in the city within like 20 or 30 minutes for the most part, sometimes even faster. It's the best. Everything's running like 6 to 10 minutes behind each other.
It's great.
It's awesome. Once it hits 11:30, especially on the weekends, it's even worse. But even on the weekdays, once it hits 11:30, it's a fucking ghost town.
Trains are coming minimum like every 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Some of them are like every 25, whatever.
Even like I'm on the queue. I'm right on the queue.
Yeah.
And like even that, which is a good train, it's like 17 to 22 minutes.
Yeah.
Like when I get off
Easily.
of work, it will dictate if I go to the clubs or not.
Right.
Because I'll pull out my phone, and if it says the train is like 19 minutes away, I'm like, oh, then I'm just going to go to the stand, and
Sure.
then I'll catch the train when I go to leave. If it says it's like 3 minutes away, I'm like, fuck that, I'm going home.
Yeah. Dude, and it's like, hold on, I had a point. When I got to
Blackout, but you
yes,
still know you
I'm
got to
still,
run.
I'm figuring it out, and I'm like, I have to make this train because I am not a super imposing figure,
yeah.
and I'm also fucked up
Yeah.
beyond belief, and so I'm like, I am the
You are going to
quintessential
get robbed.
who is going to get robbed
Yeah.
at 1:30 in the morning in the East. That is who's I'm going to be assaulted. So I need to get the fuck out of here. So
Just you on the news, like, they came out of nowhere.
it was crazy. There was like 5 of them, and it was just like, dude, there was one guy. And you're like, it felt like 5.
One guy who's slightly bigger than you.
Right, exactly. And so the other thought that I remember having, I was on because I also had to transfer because like it took me like to Delancey, and then I had to get on and whatever.
Yeah.
And I remember being on the train, and there was like a guy who was legitimately like smoking crack in the corner on the train.
130,
There was
baby.
another guy over there, and I'm just like, they are truly the freest people
Yeah.
in society. Like I want to like. Have you ever been like on a crowded subway train? Like not as much anymore because they're not. But like I remember pre-pandemic, I would be like on the 4-5 in rush hour, like wall to wall, like this.
Yeah.
And then if it's like stuck between stops, you're like, this is the worst place I've ever been in my life.
I want to die, yeah.
The only thing keeping me from just going like, move, get away from me, from losing my mind is like the thin veneer of society.
Yeah.
Like all it would take would be for me to like not eat for like a week for me to be like, fuck it, I don't care.
I don't give a
I
shit.
will scream.
Yeah.
And those guys just do it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, I wish I could do that.
I was trying to do a bit about this, but people just thought it was sad. But when I first moved to New York, and I would see the people, mainly men, passed out, looked like they hadn't showered in a week or two, just had the brown paper bags, and like just passed out on the train. Not worried about anybody stealing anything from them because they didn't have anything to
Right.
steal. Just hammered, and I remember thinking, God, what I would give to be that guy. I have 2 DUIs,
what a
Matt.
life.
Like,
Yeah.
I have 2 DUIs. I've got a lot. I've been arrested 8 times. Like, I've
Right.
got a lot of, like, if I get stopped by a cop, I got a lot of shit that pops up, and
Right.
I'm already assumed
Right.
guilty.
Right.
But it was like, this guy will never get a DUI.
No.
This guy doesn't even own a fucking driver's
No,
license.
they're honest. They're sometimes excited when they get arrested
Yeah.
because they get to sleep in a building
Yeah,
for the night.
and they get a couple of meals.
Right.
But it was just one of those weird, and this is how twisted our brains can be, but it's just one of those weird things where I saw him and I was like, fucking good for you, dude.
Yeah. Well, and I've also thought like if I'm laying, like, could I get away with it
Yeah,
if I
that's-
just like got on the train and just like laid down on the bench?
No.
Like, would people?
I'd be like, yo.
exactly. It's because I don't. It's because they look crazy.
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm not gonna.
There's
be
a
involved
uniform
with
that you have to wear,
exactly.
yeah.
But if you're wearing this, I can't just lay down on the A train and then expect to get away with it.
Yeah.
So I eventually got home. I don't know how.
Was Sam awake?
No, she was just like I didn't get home until like 2:30, almost
Damn.
3 in the morning, and
Dude,
it was
is she when you do this, because you don't do it often?
no.
She's cool with it?
Generally, yeah.
Well, not anymore, obviously. You have
yes,
a kid, but.
yes. But like it was bad. Like I called in sick to both jobs
Really?
the next day. It was rough.
And
that's
this was just on beers.
beers. Yeah, that was it. That was it. And that dude, it's because I don't know, like I've never handled hangovers well.
Yeah.
But like after I turned 30,
It's a
they are
different animal.
something else.
Was
dog.
that your worst hangover? Because I remember when you told the mushroom
No.
story, you were like, I wasn't even hungover the next day.
The worst I've ever been hungover was I was at my best friend's younger brother's wedding.
When was this?
This would have been
Last week?
No, like
I
right
love how-
after
You're 32 now?
31. Just turned
31?
31.
I love. Oh yeah, June 1st.
Yeah.
I remember because I just listened to the last episode, but I cheated. But I just love how your drinking career didn't start until you were 21, and then didn't really start till you moved to New York, as we discussed last time.
Sure.
And since you've been in New York,
Yeah.
so you'd be like, yeah, the worst. Like where I come from, by the time you're 31, you have like 15 years of drinking experience.
Right.
Yours is like all condensed
Oh
down
yeah,
into
it's a nice
3
little
years.
bite. Yeah, exactly. I'm spacing out my days. Okay, I don't know who said that, but I think that's a pretty good thing. Of like, I think maybe Bert said it or Tom Segura said it. Of like, you have so many days in your life,
Yeah.
or so many hours in your life that your body can handle getting fucked up. Like, the best idea
This
is to
doesn't
kind
sound like
of
a Bertism.
no, probably not. But just like to kind of spread those out.
Yeah.
All the because like you see somebody that's like 50 and they're like swollen and they're red and
That's-
it's and you're like, oh, you jam packed those days
Yeah.
together too much.
That's yeah.
Sprinkle them, baby.
Well, we talk about that in sports a lot, which is like you only have so many jumps. Like
Right.
in the NBA, it's like you only have so many dunks.
Right.
You get 1,000 dunks, and how are you going to use them?
Right. Exactly.
So and that's actually, I think I listened to the episode that you're referencing when they talked about that on Two Bears or something like that.
Yeah.
Because I remember hearing that and being like, yeah, that was my problem. Is I packed it all in.
Right.
Because I didn't start drinking until I was 18, and then I packed it all in and got sober at 30. So it was like, yeah, man, it would. Do you know? Because I'm an alcoholic.
Sure.
And everyone knows that about me. I've insulated myself with my sobriety to help, and it helps keep me sober. But like, there are times where I'm with Tracy and her friends, and she doesn't really drink a lot, but they're all having a good time, and I'm like, I could really fucking crank this up.
Yeah.
Like, I could take this party
Yeah.
to the next level.
Exactly.
That's like, nah, I'm retired, man.
Right.
Like,
Can't do it.
Can't do it.
People are like, come on, man, come on. It's like, nah, dude, I don't do that kind of
you
shit
don't wanna
anymore.
see
I
it,
don't do
yeah.
that. No. Please, no pictures.
I
No.
know how this movie ends.
Right, exactly.
And it's not.
It's
have you
not
ever,
good.
Have you ever seen like a Jordan Peele movie? Like, that's
Yeah.
how this ends.
That's right. It's not good.
Someone's going to end up locked in a basement somewhere.
Right. It's gonna vaguely be like talking about like race relations in
Yeah.
America or something. You know?
Hey, you know what, Matt?
Come on
this
now.
is Matt. They love me. Everybody loves me. People love me. Liberals love me.
Dude, one of my favorite jokes of about him, it was at the White House Correspondents Center in 2011,
Okay.
which some people say is the reason that Trump ran for president because
I heard about this,
Seth Meyers just like
Came after him,
roasted the shit out of him, and at one point he said Donald Trump says he has a great relationship with the blacks, but unless the blacks is a family of white people, I believe he's mistaken. And I'm just like, that's so funny, dude.
That's such a good bit.
Oh, it's very funny.
So, worst hangover ever. Wedding.
Yes,
So who was it again? Is a friend? Brother?
So growing up, my family, there was like the other family that we hung out with all the time. They're the Calls. So the guy that I was best friends with was Joel. My younger brother Adam was best friends with Ben. My younger sister Hannah was best friends with Rachel. So
Wow,
it was like it
really-
all lined up
yeah.
pretty well. And so Ben was getting married, and this was probably. It was right after COVID because it was a discussion of like, should we have this many people together
Yeah.
at the same time? So this would have been like sometime 2020, 2021, something like that.
Yeah.
And I was not planning on getting fucked up because like
Wait, this is in Ohio?
this is in Ohio.
So you have to go back.
Yeah, and my parents are there, and none of these people drink. Like,
I always forget
Yeah.
because your parents. I know we've kind of grazed over it, but you grew up in a religious household.
Yeah.
So your parents don't.
no,
You've never
had
seen your parents drunk, have you?
no. My dad has never had a drink.
That's
I
what I
had to
thought, yeah.
explain to my father what being drunk was.
Just hammered.
Just like,
listen here,
Come on,
Daddy.
Dad, you're a great guy.
I'm gonna teach you something today.
It's
Dad.
pretty
I
cool.
just realized my Trump and my drunk are kind of. The
Yeah,
same
they're
person.
just yeah.
You know what, Dad?
It's pretty good.
Some say it's the best.
But so Ben, who was getting married, his
Yeah.
wife Crystal, she's Hispanic, and so all of her family was there, and they're drinkers. Like
Yeah.
they're Catholic.
It's a
They're
party,
that's
yeah.
fine.
It's a party environment.
And so there is plenty of alcohol at this reception, and so I just like I have a couple, and then like
what, a couple beers,
just a couple
wines?
beers
Okay.
to
You're a
start
beer
with.
guy, yeah.
But then like I know like everybody in like all of the groomsmen and everything, so like we go into the kitchen, put back a couple shot, whatever.
Yeah.
And then it gets to the point where like,
Are you getting revved up?
oh, big time, and
Is
like
it a problem?
it's starting to be. And but the biggest problem was towards the end, and God bless my sister, because it was starting to wind
Hannah
down.
comes in, she's like, shut it down.
Yeah,
Shut
well,
it down.
she noticed that I was super fucked up because also like I'm the kind of person also when I'm high where I'm kind of just like nobody knows.
Oh, you're one of those?
Yeah, she's like nobody knows.
I'm like, everybody knows.
Meanwhile, like I'm drunk and I'm just like sitting in a chair just like this. But in my head, I'm just like nobody knows.
I'm cool. I'm like the coolest fucking guy here.
I'm hanging in, dude. All these guys are losers. these guys can't handle their booze. I can. Meanwhile, like I've got like piss like coming down, you know. And so it was started getting towards the end, and so everybody's like cleaning up, and we're starting to figure out because I'm staying at my parents' house. Like I don't have a hotel. I'm staying at my parents' house, and it's like the cars that I can take to get home are quickly evaporating.
Dwindling.
And so my sister like comes in and is just like, "Hey, we need to go. I'm leaving. You're coming with me." And I was like, "No." And she was like, "Do you want to go home with mom?" And I was like, "Good call." So she takes me home, and I get upstairs. I get into bed.
No, hey, hello, how you doing? Just right upstairs.
Well, they weren't home yet. My
Yeah.
parents were finishing cleaning up,
Good
and so
call,
I was
yeah.
like, I need to get to bed before I see these people. It was on a Saturday night. My family's going to church tomorrow morning. I'm not going to. I wake up and my mom is just
Did
like,
your
hey,
mom- what-
she was
yeah.
like, "Hey, do you want to come?" I'm like, "I'm good. I don't feel very good." And then I just like lay in bed, and it was just like such a pounding headache. And I was like, "Okay, I
You
need
feel
to."
it in the back of your head.
Yep.
Like that.
Well, I was like, "Okay, let's go put some like crackers or something in there
Something
just
in
to
the
try
belly.
to soak up whatever to figure. Eat it, lay down in bed. 10 minutes later,
Throw up immediately.
go run to the bathroom, throw up, everything. I'm like, okay, cool. So let's just stick with water. This is a water time.
It's a water day.
Chug water, 4 ibuprofen, whatever. Go back, lay down. 10 minutes later, right back. And then I'm like, okay, let's hop in the shower. I get in the shower.
Bad
I'm
idea.
sitting
Bad
in the tub.
idea.
I'm
Everyone
sitting there,
thinks the shower's
laying
smart.
like there. It looked like I was having it looked like I was having a miscarriage. Like I threw up and it was just like red and it was just like running away from my legs and just like, and I'm like, this is the worst and so I was like, okay, I'm just not going to put anything else in my body for the next 12 hours.
Yeah.
And I just like laid in bed. I probably stayed in bed until like 4 or 5 p.m.
So what was that? Were your parents coming up?
My parents went to church. They went to lunch with friends. They came home. They were watching football. My dad took a nap. Like I came
What, is
down.
anyone checking on you?
No. I think they kind of knew what was going on.
Yeah.
And that
You
I was
explained it to your dad?
super fucked up.
Tomorrow, Dad, don't fucking
Don't
talk
come
to me.
upstairs.
You're not gonna like what you see.
No, it was bad, and that was
I'll bring shame to the Bowman.
And I think it was probably because I mixed so much. Like I
Yeah.
had so many different types of things. Like I had like a bunch of beer. I had some
and
whiskey.
it's also like
I
you're
had
not drinking Gatorade to stay hydrated
no,
at the same time.
No, I was drinking like fucking icing.
Yeah.
Like from the like there was nothing of sustenance.
There's nothing of value.
It was
yeah.
really bad.
So
And-
how long did it last? It sounds like you gave yourself alcohol poisoning. How long did it last?
I mean, I didn't get out of bed. Like, I didn't get out of bed until like 4 or 5. But like, even now, when I have like a hangover, I'll have like a slight headache. It'll be bad in the morning, but then I'll have a slight headache almost all day.
Yeah.
And it won't fully go away until I wake up the next day.
It's a weird thing, the whole like sleeping. It's not like a time thing. It's because I'm in the same boat when I used to. Even now, like if I don't feel well, I'm like, all right, this is like one sleep, and then I'll feel better. And sometimes I get really sick, and I'm like, this is a 2 sleep sickness.
Right.
But it's just one of those things where it's like, obviously, with the lifestyles that we live, it's like I can't miss like 2. I can call out one day
Exactly.
and kind of
I'll
finesse the
yeah.
finances enough to where I'll
Right.
be okay. I can't call out 2 days.
Right.
Like I'm going to work.
Right.
So it is one of those weird things where it's like you're just like, nah, this is just. As soon as I wake up the next day, I'll be good to go.
Yeah.
There are times where I've been like sick, and but it's that same thing where it's like I get one sleep and then I wake up and I'm like, oh, I'm going to the gym. Like I feel great.
Yeah.
But it's just that weird like in between time.
Yeah, and I try to do like if I can, I try to do like a little bit of light exercise just
Yeah.
to get some blood flowing. Make sure I drink a bunch of water. Let's get some electrolytes.
Yeah.
Let's do that. But yeah, I mean, it generally takes if I've really gotten after it, it generally takes about a full day.
Is it worth it? Because this kind of brings us full circle. Is it worth it to still get after it for you?
I've
you
always
enjoy
said
it?
I do like
Yeah.
it's because and with my drunk friend or like I have friends that are alcoholics
Yeah.
and recognize that, some that also don't.
No.
We're talking to you. No, I'm just kidding.
You know?
No, I'm
How about this? You know who you are.
Exactly. I've always enjoyed being like, yeah, this is I don't do this very often. This is my once every
Let go,
3 months.
kinda,
Let's go
yeah.
get fucked up. And apparently, to my alcoholic friends, that is like a superpower.
That's yeah.
Because like I can go.
Take it from me. I think that's an insane
Like last
thing.
night, Sam and I went to dinner. It was our last date as like just the two of us.
Yeah.
And I had a Moscow Mule, and
She's putting back some wine.
yeah, exactly, yeah, dude.
She's hitting her vape, putting
Right.
back wine. It's good for the baby.
Dude, that's a bit that she's been doing when we go out to dinner. She'll like ask she'll go up to the bartender, and she's pregnant, like
Yeah.
9 months pregnant, and she'll be like, "Hey, can I have a shot of Jameson?" Just to see like a shocked, like morally ambiguous waiter, just be like, "What do I do in this moment?"
I've had it happen before. You have to serve them.
Yeah, you do. Yeah,
You like can't.
yeah, you can't say and I feel, is there a thing where it's like unless they're like visibly intoxicated, where it's
Yeah.
like you're cut off, I
The
can't
only
serve
time
you?
you can cut someone off, and now I don't know. People are gonna like DM. Don't leave it to yourself.
Shut up.
I don't care. Shut up. But like the whole thing is like I have the right to refuse service as the employee. I do not have the right to refuse service.
Right.
My managers and hires up have the right to
Got you.
refuse service.
Okay.
So if someone comes in and they're of age and they're not intoxicated and they ask for a shot,
Uh-huh.
I have to bring
Yeah.
them the shot.
Yeah.
I can't pick and choose what I bring people.
Fair enough.
Because it's a slippery slope.
Of
and
course.
It could turn into something.
Yeah, that's not great.
Like if I'm just like, I take my shirt off with all my like scripture tattoos, and I'm like, as a recovering alcoholic, I'm like, no drinking for anyone.
Right.
This is poison.
Right.
Like,
Or it's
I'm
just
not-
like I would like if you just picked like not even like a very specific group of people, just like, all right, no Sri Lankans, we
If
can't
you-
drink in it.
if you have broccoli hair,
Get the fuck out of here,
no
dude.
service.
Mm-mm.
So,
No.
and I've had it happen before where
Yeah.
people have come in and like almost stumbled into that one. I know people who have like had a glass of wine or something like
Uh-huh.
that, which is by all accounts, if not, it's not bad for you. In fact, some
Sure.
accounts would say it's good for oxidation and stuff
Sure.
like that. But yeah, I've had people come in and order like hard liquor drinks pregnant, and I'm like, this is hurt.
This is not good. I don't feel
of
great
course,
about
this
this.
was in Florida, but
Right.
I was like, this is gonna be painful.
Right.
At least the birth will be easy because they'll only weigh 3 pounds.
Exactly. How did we get here?
We were talking about your last hangover and then being hungover and then how you deal with hangovers.
Being hungover.
And then we talked about you and Sam went out last night for your last date night because I asked if you like to still tie one on. Even at your
Oh,
age.
yes. Okay, yeah.
God, I'm good at
The
this.
my friends.
I get us so far off track and then I lead us right
my
back
friends,
to the boat.
yeah, that like it's crazy that I've always been able to do that.
Yeah.
Where like if I like we go out, like my friends and I were just gonna go to a bar, watch a football game. I'll have I generally have 4. Like I have like
Can you have like half a beer and then just be like, oh, it's time to go. I got to go.
the Midwest don't waste anything in
Yeah.
me will not allow me to
Okay.
do that. I will, unless I am like, the only time that I will do that is if I've been having a meal and I physically
You're
am
just
like,
too
I
full.
am too full.
Yeah.
I'm not, and then I'll be like, normally I'll be like, hey Sam, do you want to finish this? Or like somebody else,
Yeah.
do you want to finish this? But yeah, I'll normally if I'm
That's
going to,
interesting because I'm a big I won't waste things.
yeah, as long as it doesn't get wasted.
Yeah.
For the most part, it's me not wasting it. But then if I have somebody else that's a friend, be like, hey, you
I
want
do that.
this?
I've been sober 6 years and I still do that now to this day with food.
Ooh,
Where it's like if we go out, because I don't like leftovers because it never tastes the same.
of course not.
So I'm always like, if I order something, I accept the challenge and I'm going to eat this whole thing.
Right.
And it gets to the point where like I leave feeling sick.
Yeah.
Like I'm like,
That's what keeps me from doing it. I hate that feeling
The
of
next
being
day, yeah.
like, or even like you
After,
ever really
yeah.
overeat and for like the next 2 hours you're like, oh,
I have to walk around. Yeah.
oh,
Segura had a bit about this
hate
where he's
it.
like, I had to go on a treadmill at the hotel after a big dinner after a show because I was
Yeah.
like, I think I'm going to die.
I can't stand it.
Yeah.
I hate it so much, and so that will keep me from doing that.
Yeah.
But like I can have 1 beer and be done.
God, that's
like
insane
at the
to me.
like at the pair, like sometimes
love
like
it.
the servers will be like, hey, they gave me 1 extra. Do you want this? I'm like, yeah, sure, and I'll have that, and that's it.
Do you drink before you go on stage?
No, I really
Love it.
I try. I will
we
not.
talked about this last time.
I can't do it.
Yeah.
I don't think it's there. There have been random times where like if I wasn't expecting to go on, like
Yeah.
I was just hanging out and somebody was like, "Hey, somebody dropped. Can you do 5 real quick?" I'd be like, "Yeah,
You're like,
that's fine."
Do you want me to crush?
Yeah. Do you?
Do you want full Matt Bowman?
Yeah, dude. The one time
Because
that
I'll
happened.
destroy this room.
One time that happened, I was at Old Man Hustle, and this was before.
Had a couple of drinks.
No, this was before, and this was before I was like in there at
Oh,
all.
okay.
I think I was handing out flyers for him a little bit.
Yeah.
And so I was just hanging out, was not on the show. I was out front and I was just smoking weed, which is also something that I don't normally do
Yeah.
outside of my apartment. and I would
Just being a fucking cool guy.
yeah, seriously, dude.
If someone ran into you like once every 3 months, they'd be like, Matt's the coolest fucking guy.
Well,
But you know what I mean? Like just smoking weed. I think you're the coolest guy. But
well,
it's
thank
like,
you.
What I'm saying is these stories, because
Yeah.
they happen like every 3 to 6 months. So
Exactly.
it's like getting hammered.
Right.
Smoking weed outside.
It's like, no, it's every now and then.
Yeah.
Truly. Like, my life is so boring for the most part.
But if I ran into you on these days, I'd be like, I don't know how this
Who's
fucking
this guy?
How does this guy maintain a family? He's
Right.
fucked up all the time.
Right. It's kind of like, is there a comic? Because I won't say names, but like there are comics that I respect that for whatever reason, every time they're at the show that I'm on, they've seen me bomb. Like they see me do bad.
I've had that, and then I've had it the other way, where there's comics that I love and respect, and every time I see them in person in the city, they bomb.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what is
happening? Yeah. And so I'm like, it bothers me because I'm like, oh, there's somebody that I like that just is walking around being like, that guy fucking sucks. Like that guy is so bad. And it's like, no, dude, I'm not great, but I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
It just hasn't been a good night. But yeah, I was out in front of the Old Man Hustle, and the manager came out, the showrunner came out, and I had just like first big hit, held it for a little while, blew it back out, and then she was like, "Hey Matt, can you do 5 real quick?" And I wasn't in there yet, so I'm not in a position to say, "Oh no, I just smoked a bunch of weed," and so I was like, "Okay, I gotta go."
You have to.
I was like, "Yes, I will do that," and of course, it wasn't like right now. Like it took like 5 minutes.
Matt, we're gonna let this weed sit with you for a second,
let this marinate a little bit,
and then you'll go up.
and I go up.
We'll give you just enough time to get in your own head about the audience, and then we'll send you up.
I go up. I make a joke about how the last comic before me looked like Charles Manson, which he did, and that got a big pop. And I was like, "We're golden, baby!" And then, nothing. I got to the back, and one of my good friends, Charlie Dawson, was in the back, and he was just like, "Hot start." I was like, "Yeah, dude, I know that was really bad."
You're in there now, right?
Yeah.
Fuck, yeah.
That's one of my favorite rooms in the city.
Dude,
It's
I've
fantastic.
only ever done it one time, but I loved it. It was so much fun.
It's fantastic. It's such a great room. They're actually, I mean, this is like half of a plug, but they've been going through like some post-COVID stuff, like business money has been whatever. They had to change their name a couple times for legal or whatever, so they're actually like raising money right now. So they have a GoFundMe that's going on right now. If you want to go,
Put it in the show notes. I'll
yeah,
put it in there.
Yeah, it's great. It's a great club.
Yeah, because it's an awesome club.
One of the best rooms in the city, like a little 80-seater, little box. I mean,
It's a kill box.
It's
Yeah,
so
low
great.
ceilings. Yeah, it's fun.
It's fucking great.
Yeah, I remember. I was talking to O'Toole about this last night. You know, I know we were kind of joking about it earlier, but it was one of those things where there's so many clubs in New York, and a lot of them are great. Like I know Greenwich Village gets a kind of a bad rap sometimes, but I'm like that when you're on in that room, it's insanity.
I also like that. I love a place that you have to walk downstairs to.
Yeah.
There's just something cool. Even if it's like the Greenwich Village one, the stairs are outside and you like walk
But
in.
still, it's
but like the downstairs room at the stand where you're
Yeah.
like, oh, I feel like I'm going somewhere.
Yeah,
like
like
I'm doing
I'm-
something cool.
like you're in line for something.
Exactly.
You're like, all right,
Ooh,
here
what's
we go.
around the corner? Ooh,
Yeah.
that's fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, I always liked that aspect of like in Greenwich Village, for better or worse, like it's kind of a dingy room.
Yeah, and that's
but
what I
it's
love about
cool.
it, yeah.
Like that's what made
And
you're
if
like
you can get that crowd on your side,
Yeah.
it's fucking,
great.
It's a kill box.
That's
but,
fun.
But we were talking about that last night where I was like, oh yeah, there's so many clubs in New York. I look at Ryan, I go, we're allowed to just like reach out to these bookers, right? He's like, yeah, fucking dude, you haven't been doing that? He's like, you haven't been doing that this whole fucking time, dude? And I was like, no, I don't think I've ever sent an email. I just kind of hang and
just kinda
hope people
hope. Yeah.
hit me up. The fuck's wrong with you, dude?
Dude, he said the other night there's a server at the pair, and she's amazing and she's black, and then I have a friend, you know Zach Braviette?
Yeah.
They're dating.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, did you know that?
No, I
Oh
didn't
yeah,
know
it's
that.
cool. And so it's pretty funny because she is out of his league. That's pretty much the consensus among all the men that are there. And so one time we were hanging out and Joey like walked by and like grabbed like Zach's butt or something. And Graham Cooper, our friend, it was me, Zach, Graham, and Ryan. And Graham was just like, "Hey, Zach, if you don't mind me asking, how did this come to be? How did this happen?" And Ryan was like, "What do you think? They met on the fucking internet, dude? They're both here 60 hours a week, dude. Of course, they met fucking here. Are you retarded?" Like, it's just like, I'm like, dude, that's so. What do you think? They met on the fucking internet? It's like, No, dude, they met here.
I love him because he'll just like last night. He's like, "Yeah, you haven't fucking been doing that this whole fucking time,
Dude, I love him so much, dude.
What do you think? They're just gonna fucking your wishes and prayers are gonna come true?
Right. The show business fairy.
Send a fucking email, dude.
Right. They're gonna show up to your apartment and be like, "Hey, sir, we heard you're very talented.
Vice president of show business here.
We would like you to work with us exclusively." Yeah, no, you gotta ask.
Oh man,
It's
dude,
fun.
this was fun.
Yeah, dude.
Congratulations again, becoming a father. with the
Absolutely.
wedding,
Can I say
everything.
one more thing?
Yeah, of course.
This is great. This is a show that I found on Netflix. It was originally on like Freeform or something.
Squid Games.
There's only 3 seasons. It's called Loudermilk. Have you
I
ever
love
watched?
Loudermilk.
It's fantastic.
I love
Okay,
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
because it's about like a guy who is an alcoholic and he leads like an AA group.
Yeah.
And then like all of the people that are in the group are fucking crazy guys.
Brian Regan's in it.
And Brian Regan's in it and becomes like a very serious like
I love it.
in like season 3 when he's like trying to reconcile with his family.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
After
damn,
his dad dies
dude.
and everything, yeah.
Yeah. But then I like it because
I can't believe you watched it.
it was fantastic.
It seems like a show built for like people like me, like the AA kind of group.
well, and I really liked it because I think you'll agree with me that a lot of times in shows or movies, if there's a guy who's like fucked up or like an alcoholic, it's kind of like, oh, that guy, like he's either actively an alcoholic and it's just kind of not a big deal, or like he's recovering and everything's great.
Yeah.
Everything's always he's got a sponsor, he's going to meet, everything's
Yeah.
awesome. This one it's just like no, like a lot of these characters relapse
Yeah.
and like relapse hard. Like it has
The Will
massive
Sasso character was-
massive negative ramifications
Yeah.
in their life. Like it's crazy. And I'm like that is actually refreshing because it feels like no, this is
how it's done. Yeah,
this
this
is a
is-
serious disease that can fuck up your entire life
Yeah.
if you let it.
That Loudermilk is really good. I'm so happy you mentioned that because I watched it when it first came on Netflix. It was like you might enjoy.
That's
so
how
I
I
watched
did
it.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh, this is awesome. And 4th of July, Joe List and Louis C.K.'s. But 4th of July, and I talked to Joe about this when we had him on the podcast. But the thing I loved the most about it was when he's like, they're talking to Joe, and he's like, "Yeah, you need to get sponsees." Like, and Joe List's character in the movie is like, "I don't know if I'm ready for that. Like, I've only been and that's the truth of it.
Yeah.
Like, I talk to my sponsor all the time, and he's like, "Who are you working with?" And I'm like, "I'm so busy. I don't even know if I have a." And he's like, "The fuck are you talking? Like, call. Like, what are you
Right.
fucking doing?"
Yeah.
And you're like, "Oh yeah."
Yeah.
But I like that realism because there's so
Yeah.
often when it's just like, you walk into an AA room and it's like, everyone's got everything figured out and everyone's awesome, and it's like that's not how that works.
No, it can be pretty sad.
I tell people all the
sometimes.
time, being an alcoholic, it can be a superpower. That addictive tendency, like obviously that's why I have 3 podcasts. It's how I
Yeah,
did
if
the
you
one-man
direct it
show.
appropriately.
Yeah, but if it goes the wrong way,
Yeah.
like that Xbox sometimes gets me in trouble because
Yeah.
I'll just. And like I got back into Game of Thrones, and now it's like
Yep.
last night I was up till 2 a.m. watching. I've already seen it,
Yep.
and it's like, no, I got to watch one more episode.
Right.
And it's like, you know what happened
Exactly.
but it's just that addictive mindset.
For sure.
Loudermilk, huge
It's
shout out.
It's fantastic. I wish it didn't get canceled. Because
Yeah.
like it's one of the ones where like the end of the last season, you're like, oh, I kind of want to see where this goes.
Yeah.
But it didn't happen. But it's okay.
Crashing was the same way.
Yeah, that actually like they didn't mean for it to have like a kind of an ending.
Yeah.
But it kind of did have an
It
ending.
did have an ending, but it was one of those things where I was like, I kind of want to know what happened.
Of course, yeah.
Also, say what you want about Pete Holmes, and I've not said awesome things at times, but it is an interesting thing where it's like to be at to go to the Grizzly Pear or like to go to to see Esty. Like I met her, like to see those people and then go back and rewatch the show.
Oh,
It's
I
kinda
love
like,
it.
Like Kenny's in it.
Yeah,
God rest his soul. It's like I fucking have done shows with that guy.
Well, yeah, you feel like you're like, oh, I'm
And
in
then
it, dude.
when they do that thing where she's like, how many mics do you go to a week? And he's like, oh, I go to 1 at Boston Comedy Club. And she's like, you have to be going to like 3 or 4 mics a day.
Yeah, what are you talking
And
about?
like she's on the train and they're like running from mic to mic to mic. And I
Yeah.
was like, that's what we do.
Yeah. And then you're like, oh, I know what that place is.
Yeah.
Oh, I barked there.
Yeah.
It was really, I'm sorry to keep going, but this is the last thing that I'll say. I was listening to Nate Bargatze's podcast, Nate Land, and he had on 2 guys that he started with that like he brings on the road sometimes.
Yeah.
And they were just talking about like early stand-up days, and he was talking about when he was he got his first TV credit. Nate did, and he was on like BET. I don't know what he was doing on BET, But he was there, and he said, I did that, and then the next night, I was on West 3rd and McDougal barking for the...
Yeah.
And I was standing... When I listened to it, I was standing on West 3rd and McDougal barking for the pair, and I'm like, this is pretty fucking cool,
home.
dude. Like,
I'm home.
yeah. Am I gonna make $10 tonight and do a show for 10 people? Yeah. But I feel like I'm in good company.
That's the other thing too, is that, and this is the thing I love about comedy and just art in general, is like it could change at any moment.
Yeah.
I have so many. We collectively have so many friends where it's like one clip goes up.
Yeah.
And it's like,
That's it.
that's it.
And that's why
Wrap it up.
Just put shit out there, man.
Yeah,
you
just
never
keep
know.
throwing shit out there. I had one friend of mine who was on this show. I remember when they first moved to New York. We had moved here right around the same time, and I saw them at the stand, and I was like, they weren't on the lineup. They just kind of dropped in, and I was like, oh, I have to follow you. You're so funny.
Yeah.
And then they got passed at the Cellar, and I was like, a few months later, and I was like, congratulations, this is amazing. And then put out one clip, and they went from like 7 to 10,000 followers to like 190,000
Damn.
followers, because it was like one clip. It got like 25 million views, super relatable, and
Yeah.
now they're touring
Yeah.
like crazy. But it's just one of those things
Yeah.
where it's like, I remember, like we see it all the time with people we know, where it's like, I knew you
Yeah.
when you fucking were doing open mics, and you couldn't string a joke
Dude,
together.
and I was talking about that with my buddy in Austin when I went down there last month, where I was like, and I was saying when, because I'm trying to manifest shit of like,
Yeah.
when things, like, we all have careers, when it's going to be so funny, because like people are going to be like, oh, dude, you know Kyle? Kyle's so funny. I'm like, Kyle fucking sucks, dude. Like, are you shitting me? That hack? What are you talking? Like, we're all
Yeah.
fucking around, but it's just like, because we've seen each other when
At
when
our
we're all
lowest
so
point.
bad, dude.
Oh, is he Brennan?
Yeah.
Is he talking about booze again
Yeah.
on stage? Fucking
Yeah, dude, that guy.
changed the record,
Dude, he couldn't get a laugh at 4:30 on a Tuesday afternoon at the Grizzly Pear open mic.
I remember watching him bomb.
Yeah.
Like bad.
Like, really bad. And you're like, oh shit, they're actually just people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And it is a weird thing,
They all
too.
started somewhere that was really shitty.
Well, and we also have like comics that we look up to who are like that, because we all started comedy, a while ago. So it is weird to be like and I've said this a lot, and then we'll wrap up. But I remember fucking going to see Tom Segura at the Comedy Works in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
And now he's doing fucking arenas. And I remember, and the listeners forgive me, but I'll tell you, I remember going up. I was drunk. I had relapsed. I was with my ex-fiance, and we're in line. And then I had been tweeting with him, so he kind of knew who I was. He's like, oh, yeah, Brennan from Twitter. And then my girlfriend at the time was like, hey, do you want to get a picture with him? And I looked at her drunkenly, and I go, we basically do the same thing. And now...
That's crazy.
and I know I've told the listeners that story a million times, but I love telling comics that haven't heard that story because they all have the same reaction.
my God.
Where they go, you're out of your fucking mind.
Yeah, I have something that I want to tell you, but I won't say it on here. I'll tell you in a second.
Tell me
But
after.
Yeah.
We'll wrap up now. Plug everything one more time.
Yeah, Matt Bowman comedy everywhere except Twitter. Bat Bowman on Twitter. My podcast, Matt Bowman is Bothered. I'm gonna have a son tomorrow.
Hey-o.
So
Happy birthday,
I'll be showing a lot of pictures of that. But yeah, it's gonna be fun. And then if you're in New York, catch me at some shows at different clubs and everything. It's very fun.
Perfect. Thank you, everybody, so much for listening. At Brennan T. Comedy on all social media. BrennanTComedy.com. Let me know what you think of the new background. We've moved around a little bit. And check out the one-man show, Ex-Drinking Buddy, a comics look at life, near-death recovery, and redemption. We'll talk to y'all next week.
Did it.
Dude, that was fun.
Yeah.